states, and in my view, the most beautiful commercial district in the country, and Eagle County, of course, is a big reason why. So it's a pleasure, it's a privilege. I look forward to having some conversations with folks about some of the issues that you all are grappling with here. Our approach has always been to try to lead locally, and so that's really relying on your feedback and your judgment on what matters and what priorities you think we should fight for in Washington, and ensuring that's reflected in our legislative portfolio. And so it's why preservation of public lands and wildfire mitigation, resiliency, watershed protection have been such important parts of my work in Congress, why I'm on the Public Lands Subcommittee, the ranking member of the Federal Land Subcommittee, and a member of the Natural Resources Committee, and why we're working so hard to try to get across the finish line a variety of different appropriation projects that we know are important to this community, and some of which the Commissioner mentioned, which are near down payments. We're going to do more, and so we're looking forward to doing that over the next year. I could bore you with some stories the last 15 months in Washington. I don't think you want to deal with them. A very difficult 15 months, I would say. I think, in my view, for the Congress and the country, of the come on in. I'm sorry, we're not no formal protest. No, not at all. Come on in. Yes, it's very intimidating now. I'm going to stop it. I will just close by saying this. It has not been the most functional Congress, which for me, it's understatement of the year, and it's unfortunate because the whole reason I got into public service is to try to solve problems, and the notion that no one political party has a monopoly on solutions, and that you find common ground and find a way to see the world views of folks who might disagree with you, and to try to ultimately solve the challenges that we face as a community, as a state, as a country. I think Eagle County is a great example of doing this at the local level, and it's really been missing at the federal level, unfortunately, the last 15 months. But I will say that there are some glimmers of hope, and I think the work of the Congress in the last week. I was in Washington through Saturday, got home late Saturday night after the Congress had finally passed in the House the critical national security supplemental bill on a bipartisan basis to assist our allies across the world, including in Ukraine. And I thought, for me anyways, that was a perhaps harbinger of maybe things to come, and that there might be some opportunities in the next 7 months to build on that and find ways to get stuff done for the people that we're so I'll probably close there unless you want to do. I don't know if we're looking at Emma, who's my director of community affairs, or Julie. You want to do questions? Yeah. I don't want to monopolize the coffee shop here and make it as though it's.
No, I think they're ready for us.
Okay, all right.
So we also have this correct.
Usually we have a very carefully staged town hall where people can send questions in and all the rest. Microphones. Great.
Yeah.
So it would take 1 or 2, and then I'll just walk around. Okay. Yes, sir.
Really appreciate your work on natural resources. One natural resource that Kathy Chandler-Henry did not mention is Colorado River.
Yes.
And really appreciate
an important one.
A very important one, but appreciate your leadership on that with the caucus and the House. Just want to point out that just yesterday, Eagle County Commissioners unanimously supported a $2 million investment in the Shoshone permanency project. That puts, within 4 months, the Western Slope has raised $48 million for the permanent protection of the Shoshone water rights as an in-stream flow. Would just urge you to have your ears open for ways to help us apply pressure on the Bureau of Reclamation to provide that IRA investment that will get us across the finish line and hopefully protect those flows for the benefit of consumptive and non-consumptive needs on the river forever. So, thank you.
Couldn't agree more. Grateful for all that you're doing, as well as so many other stakeholders in the region. I co-chair, as you know, the Colorado River Caucus, headwaters of my district, and it has been an incredibly important and meaningful vehicle to having some conversations with our colleagues, in particular in the lower basin states. I will say I'm very supportive of what the state is trying to do, and I think the Western Slope and folks out here have done their part, and it's time for the lower basin states and hopefully the Bureau of Reclamation to do the same. I'll have an opportunity next week. The Secretary of the Interior will be testifying before the Natural Resources Committee, and without getting ahead of my staff, we plan on having this topic involved with the questions that I have for the Secretary, and of course have said the same to the Bureau of Reclamation. So thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned glimmers of hope. Congressman, I was wondering where you saw opportunities for district in those glimmers.
Sure. Well, two great examples. I'm not an internal optimist, so maybe I'm more optimistic than I should be, but I do think, as I said, that given the events of the last week, that perhaps there was a path here for us to actually get some stuff done over the course of the next 9 months, the remaining 9 months of the 118th Congress. The two examples I would offer are must-pass bills, right, that Congress has to get done. The FAA reauthorization bill, which we were just talking about with your commissioner over at the airport, which is, I think some promising expansion here. They'll serve the area and serve the benefit of folks here. There are a variety of things we're trying to do with the FAA reauthorization bill that I think would be positive on the policymaking side. So that's one. Second, and perhaps even more directly pertinent to your community, is the farm bill. Right? We were supposed to get the farm bill done last year, 5-year reauthorization. Unfortunately, it fell victim to kind of the partisan politics. We'd like to get that done before the conclusion of this year. And of course, the biggest title of the farm bill, not biggest, but one of the largest titles of the farm bill, is the conservation title. And a lot of those programs benefit folks here in Eagle County, including rangers, that we've had the opportunity to visit with. I think there's some programmatic improvements we can make, and some investments that I think we should secure in terms of supporting some of the soil conservation work. So that's another place where it shouldn't be particularly partisan. Unfortunately, it has been, but hope springs eternal that maybe there's a little bit for us to actually get it done. Yeah, great question. Yes, way into that. Yes, ma'am.
So other than the hot topics of healthcare, women's rights issues, and sensible gun legislation, how about the issue that our mountain communities in our state have with the U.S. Postal Service?
Yes. Very important issue.
Yes.
That I was just referencing as we were with your folks from Avon. All of the issues you referenced were very incredibly important. Of course, we spent a great deal of time talking about each of them. We have been working very vociferously, I would say, to try to address some of the challenges that have been posed by, in my view, gaps in the Postal Service has in places in which they've fallen short. And for us, it has very much been, sorry, I was trying to make sure I put Max when you moved over there. No, I can see you. Max is on my team, sorry. Unfortunately, it has been, in many respects, kind of like whack-a-mole, where essentially you will have, in one particular community, by virtue of localized issues that come up in terms of retaining the workforce, larger issues that obviously are pervasive across this part of our state around housing. Nonetheless, kind of a confluence of factors that create real challenges. Several years ago, in Evergreen and in Estes Park, we had tremendous challenges with the Postal Service. We ultimately were able to, by virtue of the work our office did, pushing and engaging in advocacy, address some of those challenges. And then, of course, those issues percolated elsewhere. The most recent examples being in Steamboat Springs and in Broward County and Rand County as well. We've thankfully been able to make some progress in those communities as well. More recently, you talk to your counterparts or folks who live in Steamboat or Tampa, elsewhere, I think they'll tell you that there have been market improvements. Not a panacea, we haven't really promised, we didn't solve, but we're making progress. Unfortunately, it really seems as though the next kind of hot, the center for all of this activity is here in Eagle County, Avon, Dale, where we've heard a lot of complaints from folks as well. We're working with your local leadership. We have implored the Postal Service, including the district manager who oversees Colorado and Wyoming, to take it seriously, to allocate the necessary resources. I think the postal workers on the front lines are working incredibly hard, and it's very trying for them. And I know you all know that because you interact with them on a daily basis. Some of it is systemic, and I also would just say moving the sorting facility from Grand Junction to Denver is not going to be helpful. It doesn't necessarily directly implicate Avon or Vail or even necessarily Eagle County, although we know for sure it will impact Garfield. And I think ultimately there could be some spillover effects in Eagle as well. The notion of essentially moving the sorting facility in Denver so that the mail can be driven over I-70 and driven back, which is nonsensical. And we just sent a letter to the Postmaster General along with Senator Hickenlooper and Senator Bennett expressing our opposition to that particular move. So we're going to continue pushing. What I would suggest to you, Julie Suter does all of our work in that regard, and so please tell them that we try to document as much as we can so that we can continually tell the postal service whether or not they're meeting the expectations that we and you all in this community rightfully have, which I don't believe they're doing today. So, very important issue. Probably one more, and we'll, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Michelle. You're on the.
No, great.
Yeah.
Please tell the mayor I said hello.
Sorry.
That's
So
all right.
all of our communities in Eagle County, I think all of them see that turn and possibly communities as well. But they're trying to get a even direction to see on top of the Westville Pass project and shortfalls with what they're proposing to do and what they're proposing to leave out. Is your office able to help get that
Yes.
organized in any way?
Yes, and short answer is yes. We're working on it. Julie has been in touch with folks at CDOT. What I would just say, taking a step back, it was a really big deal to get that infra grant
Yes.
done 5 years ago. And $60 million, big allocation, finally get Vail Pass done. I was very proud of it, so I not to speak on behalf of our senators, but they were proud of it as well. I was disappointed to learn of the decision that the agency had made with respect to the pieces of that project that may ultimately not get done as on the timetable that we all thought they would get done. And very empathetic and cognizant of the, I think, frustrations that you all are feeling in this corridor about the same. The inflationary pressures being what they are, recognizing that clearly there is a shortfall, but I think the state, in my view, needs to come to the table to address it and find a way collaboratively to make it. So we've conveyed the same to the executive director. I've conveyed the same to the governor's office. We'll continue to be a partner in that regard. It was the topic of conversation this morning at the I-70 coalition, collaborative, the different organizations. This is work. And so whatever we can do to be helpful. And it's probably worth us doubling back after today, given that it's come up a couple of times to see where we are now as a party. But it me. Okay, we'll end the impromptu town hall piece of this. So that folks can have coffee and, come on, folks. Okay, thank you for coming. Thank you.
No,